Hello, my name is Tamika Brown, and I'm the director of ECMC's The College Place, located in Richmond, Virginia. And today I'm excited to share some really helpful information for students who have a disability. This talk is going to give some really useful strategies around preparing for college for students who have a disability, have some insight into what the legal protections are, and just some good information you want to know because students with a disability still attend college, deserve to attend college, but it's important for them to find a space that's going to be most conducive to their success as a student. So we're going to talk about how to choose the right college, the legal protections for students who have disabilities, high school versus college in terms of the amount of support or the type of support that is available for students who have a disability. We're going to talk about appropriate academic adjustments, which is the term that's used on the collegiate level that is most similar to your accommodations that may exist on an IEP. And then lastly, some resources that could be helpful in preparing for college, accessing college, and reaching that dream of career attainment. So choosing the right college. It's important for folks to find the right fit when they're choosing the right college. They have to find the right campus fit. They have to determine if it's a good financial fit and is it a good academic fit. Campus fit usually means social fit to us. So social fit, where is the school located? What is the size of the student body? What types of students are included in the student body, and what types of affiliations do the college have? Is it a religious school? Is it a school that's founded by individuals who may have certain graduation requirements? But it's important for students to know if a school is a good social fit, take into account the things that are going to matter to them to be successful as a student. Next is finding a good financial fit. Financial fit is about the student and the family being able to afford the entire academic program or education program needed for their career of choice. So students and families have to consider not just whether or not they have enough money for 1 year of schooling, but do they have enough money to complete the entire degree program that they're pursuing? And additionally, the entire education program that's necessary for their particular career. So they have to be thoughtful about how they approach that process, being mindful that if they may need to take out loans later on in their educational career, they should be a bit more cautious about borrowing for undergrad. Lastly, academic fit speaks to course rigor, the programs that are available at the school that are going to prepare the student for their career of choice. And then lastly, resources at the school that helps the student to be successful in getting through the college experience. So those resources could include a math center or writing tutors for students who struggle in those particular areas. But other resources that they're going to be really helpful for students who have disabilities, going to be access to support through disability services, the school ombudsman, or the ADA coordinator. But let's talk about students in disability in college. According to NCES, in 2015 through 2016, 19.4% of undergrads reported that they actually have a disability. So for students who are enrolled in college, 19% of them said that they actually have a disability. But then only 37 of them actually report their disability to the school. So of that 19%, only 34% of that 19% actually report their disability to the school. And even more, I guess, disturbing for me is that 15 to 43% of the students who actually report their disability to the school actually receive accommodations. So such a small percentage of students who actually have disabilities are able to get the support that they need or advocate for the support they need in college. But I'm here to provide some help because there is support available. It's about identifying where those supports are and leaning into those supports for help. But just to be clear, students with disabilities can be accepted to any college or university in the US. I know there are times where folks assume that people don't have access to certain spaces based on different challenges. Well, I'm here to say a disability is not a challenge that a college cannot support. It's just important, though, to find out the right college that's going to be supportive for your particular disability. But if a student meets the essential requirements for admissions, they can be admitted to the school, and the school be admitted to the school, and the school can consider their disability as a proxy or a factor that they're going to consider when determining whether or not they'd admit the student to the school. So what are the legal protections that exist? There are two acts that exist to help support students who have disabilities. One, Section 504 of the Rehabilitation Act 73. Essentially supports students who have disabilities. And then Title II of Americans with Disabilities Act of 1990 essentially included that support for higher education. Both acts require post-secondary institutions to provide reasonable accommodations for students with physical, learning, and emotional disabilities. So there is legal protection through these two acts that supports students with disabilities on campus. So now that we know that students who have a disability can go to campus, can go to college if they've been accepted, and that there are laws that support them in that process. Now let's talk about what students can expect between the differences, with the differences between high school and college. As they're transitioning from the high school space, what can they expect to be different? Well, in high school, free appropriate public education exists for students who have disabilities. They call it FAP or FAPE. I've heard different things, and even FAPE, depending on where you are. But free appropriate education essentially means that every student, regardless of their disability or their ability, is deserving or shall receive a free appropriate public education here in the U.S. And for students who have a disability, the school must have an awareness of their disability. So if there is any inkling that a student may be having some challenges or may be disabled, the school has a responsibility to be aware of what that disability is. They're required to either provide accommodations to help the student to be successful in the school, or they have to outsource those accommodations to another school, agency, support program to help the student to help facilitate support for the student in the school setting. Lastly, changes can be made to the particular classes that students may have to take, as well as their actual graduation requirements. Changes can be made with the high school curriculum to help a student actually graduate. Now, on college, though, the college end, they have something known as appropriate academic adjustments. As I mentioned earlier, appropriate academic adjustments are just like accommodations that are available through a student's IEP. But it's a little bit different on the college end. Students can get support, but that information has to be voluntarily self-reported. So their disability has to be self-reported. The college does not have a responsibility or onus to identify a disability with a student and then provide the support. The student has to volunteer that information. They have to self-report. Also, while in high school, the school is required to provide or outsource accommodation needs. For college, the school adjustments, essentially the college can make adjustments, but they're not required to endure any undue financial and administrative burden in order to help the student to be successful. So essentially, bare bones, high schools are like, we'll do whatever we can, or find the money to outsource for you to get the support that you need to graduate. For college, it's we'll do what we can, but we won't essentially spend tons of money to make it happen or employ a lot of staff to make it happen. Whatever they can do within the context of their campus without any undue financial administrative hardship, they will attempt to try to help you be successful. Lastly, changes to degree and course requirements are not required. In high school, yes, they can make changes. In a lot of cases, they do make changes for students who have disabilities to support towards high school graduation. In college, though, no, they're not required to make any changes to courses, coursework, or what's required in order to get an actual degree in that space. So let's talk a little bit more about appropriate academic adjustments. There are changes to the school and the coursework to help the student to meet course requirements without actually changing them. So it's kind of the idea of scaffolding. Students get additional support to meet the same demands that are maintained for other students, for all students. But they get additional support to help be successful in light of what their disabilities are. Changes are determined by the school based on the needs of the student, which is different from high school. High school, you have a committee, you have an IEP committee. Folks come together with the parent, the student, and different folks to determine what makes the best sense for the student, what's the best fit for the student, how can this particular change help them to be successful. In college, though, the college can determine what they can do to help a student to be successful, and they can implement those changes, but it's up to the college to make the changes that a student may need. Lastly, just to reiterate, schools are not required to incur undue financial or staff burden to make such changes. So they'll do what they can with the funding and with the staff that they have in place, but they will not, or are not required to, I guess I should say, incur any undue financial or staff burdens. So that being said, there are many things that students can get in terms of academic adjustments to help them to be successful in college. There are many, many, many different things. Here's a short list of some of them, but again, this list is not all inclusive. Students can get a reduced course load. So that means they may be allowed to take less than the minimum amount for full-time or less than the minimum amount for part-time enrollment for a student. Students can get course substitutions. So the school may swap out certain courses that may be that may present less of a challenge for the student. Adaptive hardware and software on school computers. You could walk into a computer lab and see you can see different computers that are set up with some ADA compliant software or ADA compliant hardware to help students to see the screen and to be able to consume the information that's available on computer screens. Note takers are available. This was something that I took advantage of in college, where essentially people volunteer to take notes for you who are already enrolled in the classes with students, and then they make those notes available to other students who may need them. Recording devices, so recorders, tape recorders, available for students to record information and be able to unpack later. Some are even able to get folks to transcribe the notes, transcribe lectures for them later on. Sign language interpreters for those who are hearing impaired are definitely accommodations that can be made and have been made. Extended time for testing. This is one of the accommodations that we see more often in the K-12 realm. But in college, it can exist. Extended time for testing, particularly for students who struggle with anxiety. And then TTY and student dorm rooms, if the school also provides a dorm room phone. We know over time, fewer and fewer schools are providing phones in dorm rooms. But if they do, a student can ask for TTY support on their phones. But again, that list is not all inclusive. It's just some of the appropriate academic adjustments that have been made for students. So how can a student get these academic adjustments? How can they request these academic adjustments if they have a disability? Well, there's a couple different things they can do. One, identify the department that supports the student's disabilities, the student disability services for that particular school. Identify what office. Unfortunately, this office can exist in different places on different college campuses. One school may have an ADA coordinator. Another school may have the Office of Student Affairs. Another school may have the Office of Academic Affairs that supports students with disability. Regardless, find that space. Then self-report your disability as soon as course registration is complete, meaning your course registration is complete. Why is this important? Sometimes it takes a college or any school a bit of time to identify what resources they have and figure out how they can leverage those resources to help students with disabilities to be successful, but they need enough time to be able to do that. Finding out the day classes start is too late. They won't have enough time to pull together resources and see what they're able to do. So we say do this as soon as you register for classes. In most cases, course registration begins halfway through the previous semester. So for most high school students, students who just graduated from high school, you should have already reached out to your school if you have a disability. If not, do it now. Do it now to make sure, to see if the school can offer you what you need to be successful in that space. But ideally, students should do it halfway through the previous semester so they can give the school enough time to, one, identify what they have and what they can contribute to help the student to be successful. Continuing, provide a copy of your most recent IEP or 504 plan for reference. Many students in high school already have a copy of their IEP or 504 plan, or they can get a copy from their high school, but have a copy with you and make it available to the person who's making decisions around your appropriate academic adjustments on that college campus. Why is this helpful? These accommodations that you've had through high school have been tried or true. You've used them. Hopefully, you've tweaked them from year to year to determine, or whenever your IEP is up for review, to determine what's working for you and what doesn't work for you. So hopefully, by the end of high school, you'll have a list of accommodations or adjustments that have been productive in helping you to reach academic success. So by having this document or having this plan available and making it available to the school, you're saying, this is what's worked for me in the past. This is what I've been, this is what helped me to be successful in the past. So these are things that could help me be successful in this space, in the college space. So they make that available to the school so they can figure out, okay, in light of what's helped them be successful in the past, we got to figure out if we can provide the same support here. Most schools, though, still require students to get an updated evaluation of their disability by an appropriate professional. There are some schools that are fine with taking a previous IEP or 504 plan to then determine what academic adjustments they can find on the campus. Other schools, though, require students to recertify because now they're adults. And so they ask them to get an updated evaluation before they can determine if they can meet any appropriate academic adjustments. But in light of that, schools are not required to incur any of the costs associated with evaluations or recertification. It is the student's responsibility. Students should contact their local DARs in the state of Virginia. We have the Department of Adult and Rehabilitative Services, and that exists in every state throughout the country. But DARs can help you determine what resources they have that can help you to be successful as you transition into adulthood or transition from high school to college. And in some cases, they can consider you for qualification for no-cost evaluation. And that could be a game changer. I know some of these evaluations can cost hundreds of dollars, depending on who's doing it, where you are. But tap into DARs first to see if they have resources to help students. I will say one of the big changes that's coming with the FAFSA this year is that they've included more things that students can use that some of those cost of attendance expenses towards. And one of the things is reevaluation for students who have a disability. So that's going to be great. They're able to use some of the funding for the cost of attendance to help them in becoming comfortable or getting the support they need on a collegiate space. So I think that's phenomenal. That's a phenomenal change. And I look forward to it happening for next school year. But as it stands, I still would tell students, see if the financial aid office will cover the cost of an evaluation. They have what's known as professional judgment, and they can make a decision to use some of that funding, but it's up to the school, up to the financial aid administrator to make that decision. So let's say a student has appropriate academic adjustments and they're saying, this is not really giving me what I need. It's not effective. Students have to learn how to advocate for themselves. I cannot overstate that. One of the ways that they can learn to start to be advocates for themselves is by sitting in those IEP meetings, learning about their disability, learning about the types of supports that's going to be helpful and helping them to be successful as college students. So bring them to the table as soon as possible so they can be as informed about their own disability and they can learn how to advocate for what's going to help them to be successful. So bring them to the table for those conversations. So when they get to college, they can advocate for their needs there. In college administrators are not trying to entertain phone calls and emails and even visits from parents who are upset because maybe their child is not being disserviced, or even a parent wanting to advocate for their particular child. For college, it's a different world. They're adults. They're expected to advocate for themselves. And unless students sign off on those FERPA paperwork, then the school can't share any information with the parent anyway. So the student needs to learn how to be an advocate for themselves, learn how to develop operational knowledge around their particular illness, their particular disability, I should say, and know how to be able to advocate for what they need to be successful. Build up their confidence around advocating for what they need. Help them to realize they deserve to be there and that the school can provide them with the support, but they have to be able to seek it out and demand the support they need. So work with the appropriate office as soon as possible if they realize their accommodations aren't going to work. Seek out the school's ADA coordinator specifically if the person they're working with is not the ADA coordinator, but reaching out to the ADA coordinator to say like, hey, I'm trying to get accommodations. This is what the school has offered me. It's not enough. I need more. And lastly, many schools have ombudsmen who students can file a grievance with to say, I need more support. The school is not providing the support. Can I talk to someone? Can someone be a mediator? And that's essentially what an ombudsman is. But I just want to be clear, because the school is not required to incur any undue financial or administrative hardship, they, at the end of the day, can still say, we're not able to provide it. And say it costs too much, or we would need to hire staff, or our staff doesn't have the capacity for it. So the advice I give most families as they go through this process about how they should deal with ineffective academic adjustments, I'd say find a school that's going to be supportive for the student. As we know, all schools aren't required to all schools are not going to break their neck to provide the support for students who have a disability, but there are schools who are committed to helping students with disabilities to be successful and are committed to figuring out what they can do and use some of their funds to help students with disabilities to reach those appropriate academic adjustments that they'll need to be successful. So I encourage them, please, 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 please spend the time before senior year exploring colleges and universities and figuring out what is it you need. So even having your accommodations with you when you go on college visits or when you're talking to college admissions reps to say, hey, this is what I need to be successful. Can your school provide it? Very clear. Can your school provide it? And if not, go to the next school. Can your school provide it? Every college is going to be different. And in the same way you're finding a school that's going to be conducive to your health needs or your physical needs, or even your career, the prep that you're going to need for your particular career, you're going to have to find a school that's going to be conducive to your success with a disability. So definitely keep that in mind. If one school won't meet your accommodations, find others. There are several hundred schools in this country that will be willing to consider the adjustments you need and help as they see fit. Other post-secondary options. One is DARS. DARS is a great resource that I mentioned earlier, but again, please take advantage of the DARS in your respective states. In the state of Virginia, please tap into DARS if you have a disability. They're there to support you and they're help with adult transitional support. But they particularly have ESSP, which is their employment services and special programs. And what I enjoy about some of the work that ESSP does is that they have these employment service organizations that they accredit through CARF. And essentially what these programs do is that they are aware that their workforce may have some challenges and have disabilities. And so they the way that they train and the way that they support their workforce is in light of these disabilities. So I think it's a great program to look into because these programs are conducive to students who have, or folks who have disabilities. It's not just jobs, they also have training opportunities. So please, please, please look into DARS and even programs that are accredited by CARF. Lastly, WIOA, through the WIOA Youth and WIOA Adult program, offer great resources for students who are not enrolled in school for whatever reason, whether they graduated or they dropped out. But if they have a disability, WIOA, that's through Virginia's Virginia Career Works, they're centers that are located throughout the state. They get a career coach, they get additional funding for training, they get support around interviews, they get financial support with getting to and from their jobs, having appropriate attire. They get support for one-time emergency expenses. All of these things are free, completely free, offered through WIOA. So I think that's another phenomenal post-secondary option for anyone throughout the country who's looking for support in getting ready and transitioning from high school to adulthood, but also with the insight to support someone who particularly has a disability. So as I described WEO a moment ago, but again, WEO is a federally funded program. It's managed through each state's kind of unemployment commission, and in Virginia, it's the Career Works. Two different programs. One is youth, one is an adult, but they pretty much offer the same supports. The youth program for youth ages 17 to 24 supports youth who are not enrolled in school, who are low income, basic skills deficient, justice involved, runaway, pregnant, parenting, or disabled. So any one of those categories, a student can enroll in the WEO youth program. The adult program is anyone 18 years or older who's eligible to work in the U.S. and also registered for the Selective Service program. But as I mentioned, this program offers a lot of different supports: one-on-one career coaching, GED and adult basic education support, scholarships for those who are interested in training programs and in-demand jobs throughout the state. Essentially, those scholarships go to kind of stand in the gap between what types of funding that may be available through the actual training program through the state of Virginia, and if it's a 2-year program, through federal aid. And then it kind of fills in the gap. Paid internships, on-the-job training, financial assistance. Again, I cannot say how great this program is for the right person. The add-ons for the youth programs, academic support, and then mentoring. Mentoring to really focus on that leadership development piece, and then academic support to help them get a high school diploma or GED through the WEO program. So recommendations that I have for students and families, for students who have disabilities as they're getting ready for this post-secondary journey. 1, advocate. I cannot overstate the importance of advocating and how students have to learn how to communicate what they need and how to be assertive in getting what they need to be successful as a student. Determine post-secondary options based on the student interest and not their disability. I know oftentimes I work with parents who say, well, I don't think he's able to do this, or my kid really wants to do that, but I'm concerned because of his disability. While a disability may create some challenges for particular careers or career sectors, students should not ignore or should not dismiss a certain opportunity because of their disability. Technology has come a long way, and there are a lot of services and supports and apparati that exist to help students who have, or anyone who has a disability, to be successful in various career pathways. So students should lean into what their interests are and then figure out what types of supports are going to be available to really help accommodate their particular disability. But choose their options based on what they're interested in, and not a short list of things that you've determined they should be able to do or you think they are going to be able to do based on their disability. Determine what students will need for post-secondary success and ask for it. As I mentioned earlier, students who have an IEP or 504 plan already have a list of things that they need to be successful in an educational space. So you already have a starting point. You have that list of accommodations. So ask for it. Take that list with you on college tours. Take that list with you when you go to college fairs so that you can tell colleges, this is what I need. Can you offer it? In a nice way, but that's how I'd say it. This is what I need. Can you offer it? Yes or no? If the answer is no, what can you offer? And then you can determine other things that they can offer. Is that going to help you to be successful? Yes or no? If the answer is yes, lean into learning more about the school. If the answer is no, look elsewhere. Connect with DARS for career support and vocational funding. Please take advantage of DARS. I think it's underutilized by a long shot, because in high school, people tend to be in close communication with a lot of special education supports or exceptional education supports. But once they graduate or once they leave school, it's not as accessible, or they don't believe it's as accessible. But DARS is there to help you. DARS is there to help you because of your disability. And so they are in light of what educational opportunities and career opportunities that exist that are going to take into account what your disability is. So please connect with DARS and get the support that's available there. It really is underutilized for sure. I think a lot of our state agencies are underutilized. But lastly, this is my contact information. I hope this talk was helpful. I know I gave a lot of information, but my goal is really to equip parents and students with what they need to make informed decisions about post-secondary life. I have a learning disability. I went to college with a learning disability, and it was a challenge. And in light of that, really what compels me into doing this access work in general. In light of that, I really want parents and students to be equipped with what they need. I want them to be informed about what's next. I want them to know how to advocate for themselves. And so if ever I could be of help to you or the work that you do or the students you support or your family, please don't hesitate to reach out. We're here to help anyone for free. But the goal is to get the information to folks who need it in a timely fashion, well enough in advance where they can actually operationalize or work with the information that they have. Finding out about a program 2 years too late is not helpful. So I want to make sure folks have what they need and enough time to make informed decisions and execute in a way that makes sense. So thanks so much for your time. Again, hope this talk was helpful. You can reach out to me at the contact information you see there. If you want to learn about many of the virtual talks that we give and our newsletter that goes out periodically, you can use the QR code there to join our listserv. But again, we're here to help, to be of any support we can. Thanks so much and have a great rest of your day.